Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Security Talkdown podcast. Yes, you're seeing this and you're hearing this correctly. Security Locks is back and he is ready for another exciting year. First off, I just want to start off getting right out there, going right to the bullet point. I'm sorry for last year and how things went. Getting out of college, I never lost a passion for the football that obviously I love, but working a new job, got a little head over heels busy, and at the end of the day, I was able to at least watch the football, just didn't have enough time to shoot these, edit these, and I was not too happy about it, but I promise this year now, I'm settled into his new place. You guys can probably see now a new setup and everything. I'm going to evolve this more and more for the podcast, and I'm just beyond excited. I owe you guys an apology. I'm going to keep up more with it. But overall, I think I couldn't have picked more of an interesting year to miss, in my opinion. Before we even dive into this year and about my podcast and stuff, I want to talk more about last year and what I basically got out of last year, just to basically see if we're all on the same page and how we feel about this. Last year in general, college football, in my opinion, was one of the most bizarre and wacky years of college football I've ever watched. Every single team that you thought was going to be that top dog, very dominant, senior load, all that stuff, absolutely crumbled. Just did not pan out. All the teams that you thought were those tweener teams that had a possibility, a chance, turned into Cinderella stories or made it way further than we thought. You can't talk about last year if you don't talk about Curt Cignetti in Indiana. Hats off to Cignetti. He is one of the hottest coaches in college football. I think he is one of the best coaches in college football at this moment, but things change so fast in this world that we live in, and that's why we're going to talk about that a little more later. With college football, it's different every year. I'm very excited for this year. Like I said, I'm disappointed I couldn't cover more last year. I just got too busy, but this is not going to happen again this year. I promise I'm going to keep up with this just to help all you few viewers out there. I mean, as long as I can help someone, and this isn't really a chore for me. I love talking football. It's just easy stuff that I can, enjoy and put it out to you guys and help you guys going into the weeks, the big games, what to expect, games that probably aren't on your radar that are definitely on mine, and overall betting. I mean, I know betting is a big thing in this podcast as well. Last year, it was rough too, but like I talked about last year, if you do not do good betting the first 4 weeks of college football, you will not have a productive year. I was not too good in the beginning. I got lucky to few at the end when the podcast wasn't rolling. Of course, the betting gets better whenever the podcast stops, but it's fine. And sorry if the cat gets in it here and there. He's uncontrollable, but we'll make it work. But anyways, we'll just dive straight into what I got from last year. First off, like I said in the beginning, the playoff last year was just interesting. I'm going to leave it at that. 2 group of 5 teams making it in, I think, is a blaring problem. It wasn't more so the committee's problem, in my opinion, or college football's problem. It's the way that the rules are made. There's no way in heck they should have let in a North Carolina 5-loss team that is an ACC champion into the playoff. I absolutely agree with that. It's just unfortunate then the next best team was a Power 5 team like a JMU and a Tulane. I think the group of 5 teams deserve to be in a playoff per se, but also I feel like it takes away a spot from a team that is way more deserving than them. I'm a very big fan of the group of 5 or group of 6 of what it is now. I think that they deserve to have their spot. I'm all for those stories, but at the end of the day, this is not the college football that it used to be 20 years ago, where you could have these Cinderella story teams that were just group of 40 freshmen brought up in all 4 years and develop into a really interesting team like the Boise State team that won the Fiesta Bowl, stuff like that. It's just you won't find that much anymore, and it's because NIL, which we'll get into again later, it's basically turning the Power 5 into what I see it as kind of like a farm league or a feeder system that feeds into these Power 4s. But first thing I want to talk about from last year is the big surprises were with, obviously, Indiana. Indiana going 16-0, perfect season. They won on the road at Penn State in basically a heartbreak fashion for Penn State fans. On the road at Oregon, which was a very impressive win alone there. Big Ten championship. They beat Ohio State. I do still think Ohio State was the better team that game, but it doesn't matter. They won the game outright and square. won it. Roll into the playoffs, absolutely steamroll an SEC team in Alabama 38-3. Move on, they just keep rolling, and then next thing you know, they're playing Miami in the national championship. And that was a very underrated game, in my opinion. I think people weren't too excited about that national championship, but it was actually one of my more favorite games I watched just because it's two teams that weren't very expected to be there, and they put on a great performance. And I don't know, a lot of you guys out there last year were when I said Miami would be a playoff team, a lot of people were shocked by that. They made the championship. So all you guys out there that were doubting that pick, you know what I'm saying. But hopefully I can pick that again this year. But at the same time, my playoff last year, I did have South Carolina, Penn State. I had Clemson as my natty. So yeah, I can't talk much about the one team that I picked right. That's not how this works. But at the end of the day, I'm super excited about it. Get back in this podcast, talk all the information you guys want, and much so. I will break down at the end of this episode how I'm going to run my podcast this year, and basically over these next 3 weeks, what my plan is. And then after, whenever we get done week 0, going into week 1, the schedule is going to change. It's going to be more just detail oriented, but we'll get into it much later. But the biggest topic I want to start on today is actually my thoughts on Curt Cignetti. I've talked to a few people about this. Some agree, some don't. That's just the normal life that we live in nowadays. But I think Curt Cignetti is the best and worst thing that has ever happened to college football. And I'll let you think about that for a second. Like why I'd say that, where am I going to go with this? Just many ways you could go. The reason I think he's the best thing that's ever happened to college football is because he shows that it is possible to come in and take quite literally one of the doormats of the Big Ten and probably college football, one of the most historic losing programs in the country, took him to a national championship within 2 years. I don't think we'll ever see it again personally, and that's why I think he is the biggest issue to ever come to college football. Because now all these standards of new coaches coming in all over college football, they're going to basically be like, why can you not exactly replicate what Curt Cignetti did at a school that is lesser than you? I think it's going to make people 80s, boosters, NIL donors, it's going to make them force their pressure onto these coaches when these coaches really do not deserve it. I think Cignetti is a great coach. Don't take it away. Like I said, I don't think anyone will ever be able to replicate what he's done ever again. But I think it's also going to make these coaches have no windows to get a chance to actually build. I mean, if you go back and look at some of the best coaches in this game, their first 3 to 5 years at a program were terrible. I mean, off the top of my head, Frank Beamer, when he started at Virginia Tech, if any of you guys know who that is, legendary coach at Virginia Tech that almost took him to a national championship. His first 3 years at Virginia Tech, he never won more than 3 games. Then after that, he had like 20 straight seasons or something crazy of 9+ or 10+ wins. So it's just Kirk Ferentz. He started out Iowa. He's been there for, I think, 27 years now, I think is what he's going on. First 3 years, he went 1-10, 4-9, 3-9, then 6-4, and then it's been consistently since. Kirby Smart. We all know he didn't start out the most, glorified at Georgia. Mario Cristobal, the coach that was quite literally in our national championship last year at the beginning of his career, had Miami not moving at all. And he was actually at one point on the hot seat. And people were wondering if he'd even last there with his game management. I don't know if you guys remember that Georgia Tech game where he ran the ball with 40 seconds left. Instead of kneeing it, fumble, Georgia Tech goes down, scores with 0 seconds left to beat them in a game they should have absolutely never lost. I mean, there's so many coaches I could just ramble on about that needed that 3 to 5 years to fully get a program in, get their recruits, and just form it into what they want, their identity. Now, I do understand with the NIL world nowadays, you should be able to speed it up faster. I 100% agree with that, and I agree with if you do have 80s and boosters giving you anywhere between $15 to $25 million, we do expect results. I'm fully aware of that, but I just think that how easy Curt Cignetti made it, I'm worried that it's going to become a trend where if they don't do it in the first 3 to 5 years, honestly 9-5, I think it's going to turn into 2 to 3 years that coaches are just going to get canned. And I think that's not great for our game just because, these coaches are great coaches, are there for a reason, and you're basically judging them off 2 years when everywhere else they've been obviously to get to that point of a big Power 4 job, they've been successful everywhere. But at the end of the day, you're getting paid big bucks. You have to do your job, and I am all for it. I would like to hear what you guys think on that. Like I said, I'm a huge Cignetti fan, obviously playing in the PSAC myself. At Clarion, he was a big IUP guy, coach there for many years, so I'm very excited to see a guy like him succeed. I love underdog stories. The way he talks, it keeps you going. Some of his media day stuff was pretty funny. I can't lie, but I mean, we'll talk about that in another episode, media days and SEC versus Big Ten. I can talk about that for quite a few minutes. But the next thing I do want to go into last year is touching on it, is staying on that 2025 subject, is the biggest surprises to me and biggest disappointments. Biggest disappointments, I automatically just want to put it out there, which was basically every team in the top 5, in my opinion. Clemson, that week 1 loss at LSU, I thought they looked great in that game. It's week 1. A lot of stuff happened. Losing at Death Valley did hurt, or the Tigers' Death Valley, I guess. But they just crumbled. And that's Penn State might arguably be one of the most disappointing seasons for a team that was returning over 60% of their starting production. It ended with their coach getting canned after losing 3 games in a row. Dumpster fire, and I think Penn State's going to be recovering from that for a few years. Texas, losing week 1 to Ohio State. I don't think that was a bad loss. Arch didn't look great, but it was also his real first start as a real QB, in my opinion, against an elite defense. And they crumbled clearly. And I will not defend them at all saying that they feel they got left out of the playoff. I don't think they got left out of the playoff, in my opinion. They had close games with Mississippi State, Kentucky, lost to Florida. I know the SEC has strength of schedule is very great, and their conference is from end to end very deep. But if you're playing those teams and close on the ones that are on the bottom of your end and you're going to sit there and ask for a spot, I don't necessarily agree for it. But like I said, that's last year, now we're in the past. I think Texas is one of the most exciting teams this year that could be in college football. But just in general, last year, Indiana was a big surpriser. Texas Tech, in my opinion, I kind of saw that coming. I actually had them as my Big 12 champion. That oil money does different wonders. Joe McGuire is a great coach. He seems like all those players want to play for him. When you have a coach that can make players want to play for you and just let you play free and loose, I think programs like that always succeed more. I mean, Curt Cignetti, a lot of people love playing for him. He runs a tight ship, but he lets you play free, loose. You feel like that underdog mentality. It just works. It really does. Oregon last year, I think they're the only team that from the top of the top just did exactly what they were supposed to, if anything, overachieved a little bit, in my opinion. They were really young for say, as everyone thought, but they came in, they played their football, and they did everything they wanted to. But those are the biggest disappointments, in my opinion. There's probably others that I could go into depth for many, many hours. LSU, obviously, but whenever Nussmeier got hurt and went downhill, Ole Miss was a shocker with Trinidad coming out of nowhere when Lane Kiffin at the beginning of the season hitched everything on Anthony Simmons. So him to LSU now, there's so much stuff we could talk about last year, but there's just not enough time in this podcast. Which moves me on to what I think this year is going to look like, and then we're actually going to dive into this year. I think one thing we need to know this year, and I heard it on many other podcasts that I listened to, and I cannot agree anymore, I think this is the year of the quarterback. I'm not talking about year of the quarterback in the drafts or the NFL stuff. I'm talking about rounded talent around the whole Power 4 conferences. There is not a stronger year for quarterbacks, in my opinion. There's just veteran studs all over the place, young guys that are supposed to be emerging, guys that are bouncing from FCS to FBS, group of 5 up. They're all over the place. I'm super excited. I could probably name 20 quarterbacks right now that I'm excited for that would do great in their system, and they're still going to be oh, you forgot John Mateer at Oklahoma. Oh, you forgot Byron Brown at Auburn. Oh, hey, did you know Sam Levitt went to LSU? There's just so much movement going on around right now, and I think this is going to be an exciting year for big numbers from a quarterback, and I think this draft class will be great, but at the end of the day, there's going to be those few top quarterbacks that are going to get hurt. It's very sad to see, but I'm not putting all my chips in on a great draft class for the NFL. I'm just saying great overall quarterback class coming into this year. I think this is one of the biggest years in college football in recent memory where that Big Ten and SEC rivalry is really going to come to light. Big Ten has won the last 3 national championships, and they've won them pretty convincingly, in my opinion. And the SEC has not made a national championship in the last 4 years. That's simple. It's starting to write the painting on the wall. I saw a stat the other day that said that the Big Ten is 9-3 in playoff games, while the SEC is 2-7, and that's against other conference opponents. So it can't be SEC versus SEC, Big Ten versus Big Ten. And the only 2 SEC wins, I actually know them off the top of my head, was Texas against Arizona State in that double overtime game where Texas honestly got lucky to win that game on that 4th and 13th row. And then it would have been the game last year against Ole Miss and Tulane. So those are the 2 because it would be group of 4. So the other one I just had in my head, sorry I blanked. I'll think of it and shoot it back out to you guys. But I'm excited. I really am. The SEC is deep this year. So is the Big Ten. I think the bottom tier of the Big Ten is getting a little better. And the SEC's bottom tier is getting better too. But they'll always have the better through and through conference of talent and depth-wise. But better conference, like I said, we'll talk about that another day. And we'll dive into that whole controversy when it comes into fruition. And the other game, by the way, was Texas and Clemson. My bad. Both Texas is only 2 wins for the SEC, and I still view them as a Big 12 school. But anyways, you guys have seen me pick this up a lot. This is just my notes to keep me going in the right track and stuff. And, it helps keep the ship going. But moving into this year, I do want to talk about what impacts last year had on college football. I want to talk about basically if I was just dropped in today, no rules, no laws are followed by some Supreme Court, nothing. If I was dropped in as the commissioner of the college football just commissioner of college football in general, what changes would I make? What would I do? And how would I help college football? I think that is a big problem happening, and I will talk to you reasons what I think should be fixed and why it should be fixed. And the biggest problem, in my opinion, is rolling straight off of it is NIL. NIL is by far one of the biggest problems in college football, and a lot of people don't want to talk about it. The reason I think it's a big problem is because it turns into an all-out poaching war. Or kids out of high school, getting paid $6 million like this running back just did to go to Tennessee, and he's never played a college football snap in his life. I am very against that. If I could be dropped in today, like I said, the first thing I would do within minutes is I'd make a salary cap on every single conference. It would be all the same, and it would just be automatically 15, 20 million capped. Can't go over it. You can obviously stay under it, but you cannot go over that 15 to 20 million. We're staying there because if we keep going on this trend that we do now, I think there's going to be the ACC, Big 12 down here with budgets going from, 12 to 15-ish. And then it's going to be SEC, that's going to be around that 20 to 25. And then Big 10 is going to be up here 30 to 35. There is a reason I do think that the Big 10 has been better since NIL has became a thing. It's because, like Nick Saban literally said one time, now you can pay these kids to go up to the cold, go up to the north. Big 10 does have better academic schools statistically. And a lot of these kids that were from California, Florida, Texas, Alabama, South Carolina, all these big name recruits, now they're getting paid to go up in the cold instead of just going to the cold for nothing. You'd still see some kids go to the big blue bloods like Ohio State, Michigan, Oregon out there, Washington even, maybe a little bit of Penn State, but now you see it so frequently. Like you're seeing kids from South Carolina going to Rutgers and enrolling early as running backs. It's mind-blowing. NIL is ruining that aspect of it, and the other reason why I think NIL should be fixed is the first thing that I'll do after I'd fix the NIL cap is I'd actually make a rule where you cannot make NIL as a freshman. You cannot make it out of college. You can make it, out of high school. You basically get to go there, play your freshman year, and then you get evaluated and you can get paid from there. Now you can still get endorsements from the local car shop down the road, do ads with Nike, stuff like that. Like, you can still do endorsements, but you cannot get paid NIL by the school. I think that will make recruiting way easier, because then you don't have these bidding wars for kids that have never played a snap, done anything for the school, go there for 1 year, get their money, and then transfer again. I think it'll stop all this huge transferring back and forth. I think you need to go there and earn it. It's only 1 year. If you are really complaining about 1 year not getting paid as an 18-year-old making millions, that's a problem, in my opinion, and you don't want to be at that school to begin with. I would just make that a rule, and then after that, if you really are the truth and you think you are that good as a freshman, then yeah, you'll get a big NIL deal your sophomore, junior, senior year. You'll still make great money. I just think that for recruiting reasonings, I think that would really help in capping, not letting freshmen make NIL at all. Now, endorsements, different reason, but from the schools getting basically paid to go there, no. Moving into the next thing I would go to immediately is a transfer portal. Transfer portal is a big problem right now, not so much with the windows. I think they've adjusted them great, and I'm a big fan of the transfer portal when it comes to giving kids second opportunities and just a chance to go play football. Now, no kid wants to go to a school and sit the bench 5 years, putting in those fall camp days, all those practices, all that time. I mean, unless, I know some kids nowadays probably never touch the field and still probably make 60 to probably 80 grand, but still, I'm a big fan of that. But what I absolutely cannot stand is people poaching quarterbacks, any players actually for the matter of fact, out of the portal. Like Darian Mensah, quarterback at Duke, got this nice NIL deal from Duke, arguably one of the better quarterbacks in the ACC in my opinion, and I think if Darian Mensah was there last year, I actually think they might have won the Natty. Like, he's that much of a game changer in my opinion. And Duke, fully committed, once all in for it, then all at once, he just hits the portal 12 hours later at Miami with this apparent big NIL deal that I don't even want to know the dollar amount. It's probably northern or probably 8 to 10 million if I had to guess, probably something ridiculous. But it's just the tampering and the poaching is just blowing my mind with how easy they can do. Dabo talked about one of his kids was literally enrolled in a class going there, and then randomly one day he calls Dabo like, hey, I'm hitting the portal. 2 hours later, next thing you know, after he's in the portal, he's already going to Ole Miss. And it's just ruining it. And that's why I would make strict rules in the portal where if you were poached, talking to coaches, other team coaches while you're at another school, coaches reaching out to players and stuff, automatically scholarship suspensions on all your roster. You're losing 10 to 12 scholarships, your whole roster, and that player that you're poaching is suspended for a certain amount of games, and that coach now has a strike. If you get up to 3 strikes, you cannot coach anymore. Like, I think it is just terrible. You can't poach, you can't bribe people in anything today. I know it happens, but like it's illegal. In college football, they just kind of let it happen. I think it would stop it, at least a little bit, but if different story. If the player genuinely wants to hit the portal and get a new chance and or jump up, then yes, I'm okay with the offers, the bidding war per se, as long as he's old enough. I can't stand when these coaches are forming their teams around these players, and then next thing you know, they call you like, oh, hey, I'm leaving, by the way, and they're gone 2 hours later. Usually they got poached. So that would be one of my bigger transitions into. And then lastly, the playoff. I think the playoff is perfectly fine where it's at right now. I do not like these rumors of expanding to 24. It'll just keep going, and I do think that we need to reorder the group of 5 people and fix it more around. I do not like the Big Ten and SEC fighting for these automatic bids. It's football. Like, just because you played at a 6A school in high school at one of the biggest and baddest divisions, that means you should automatically get into the playoff. No, you still have to go out there and earn it and win the games. SEC gets the buys from the committee, and people don't want to say it. They have the most teams in the playoff every year, and they always have losses, and they don't go far. I think the SEC and Big Ten get their bias. It's just not shown. Now, they do earn it, but I think they end up getting their bias. But I would keep the playoff exactly where it is. If anything, I'd even think about potentially going to 16 maybe. But no, I think 12 is perfect where it's at. Keep it where it is. Let's work these first-round buys more sustainable to the teams that deserve them, and keep conference championships a thing. Do not let conference championships go away. But that's just some of the stuff I think if I was, like I said, dropped in as a commissioner, I'd want to change. I think it would help the game of football. There's probably a couple things that I left out that I think would help, but that's just a quick first things I would do that I think would take college football from having all these problems right now to then kind of back to where it used to be. It'll never go back to where we want it to be, but it would at least fix some stuff in my opinion. But overall, I think college football is trending in a direction where I think there could be a podcast 2 or 3 years from now that could be on a random middle of June, where I come to you guys saying the SEC and Big Ten are no longer a part of the NCAA. I think we are tracking down a path where they are going to separate from the NCAA, and we're going to get kind of like our own conferences that are just on their own. And I think half of it's because of the NCAA not giving rules, and it's really frustrating these coaches, these ADs and stuff, where there's no discipline. The NCAA has no power and all, and we need a commissioner. I think there is no sport more right now that needs leadership and governance, per se, than college football, because there's just so many things going on where one team does the same exact thing and gets a punishment, but then the other one gets off scot-free. There's tampering, there's NIL deals that are too big. Like, there's just so many things that need, controlled, and we need someone actually stopping this stuff. And that's why I feel like someone like a Nick Saban would be great at it, old coach, or even a Big Ten, SEC, their commissioner, someone like that. Sankey would probably, even though as much as Sankey, people don't like Sankey and the way he talks, he live, breathes, dies college football, and I guarantee the way he talks about the SEC is the way he would then change it towards the whole game as college football, and he'd be passionate. I love someone that's passionate and does what they do great. But overall, I'm super excited for this college football year. I cannot wait for those week 0 matchups when we're talking about TCU and Notre Dame over in Ireland. I can't wait for week 1 and week 2 this year. Week 1's definitely not as strong as last year, but still college football back in general. Just waking up on a Saturday with some college game day on the TV, having nothing really to do but just sit there, enjoy the game that's back, and maybe throw a bet here and there. But before I close out this podcast, I do want to talk about my overall plan for this year and what I want you guys to keep me accountable to, and what my plan is to make sure that I keep this rolling. Automatically, I want you guys to know for the next 3 weeks until after week 0, so I'm going to be posting once a week, on Wednesdays. I'm going to try to keep those episodes to once a week, talking about some big topics, all kinds of other stuff. My goal this year is to kind of keep episodes between that 25, 35-minute mark, where there's just a good listen in the morning or right before college football, just to get some stuff in. But for the next 3 weeks or so until week 0, there might be a little longer, pushing 40, because it's only one a week. But we're going to do those, just tapping in, fun stuff to talk about, and such forth. But then after week 0, whenever we get rolling into that next week, then obviously week 1's always a weird one because games start on Thursdays and basically roll on and stuff. So we'd probably only be able to, we'll make that work. But whenever we fully get into that week 2 schedule of stuff, when games start on Friday, before the action Tuesdays and Wednesdays, I'm going to be posting on Tuesdays and Thursdays. Tuesdays are just going to be revolved around reviewing the week prior, talking about the big stories, the big upsets, the big games of the week, how we did betting on the security lockdowns and all that stuff. Just overall review, big injuries, what we need to going into the next week. Then Thursday is all about the week coming up. It's going to be deep dives, best games of the week, underdogs, everything, just kind of like last year, how I did the in-depth breakdowns all for you guys. That is my plan for those. And like I said, with me breaking up into Tuesdays and Thursdays, I think I can keep those things to 25 to 35 minutes, get all the information we need, not really much talking about else, just big college news, straight to the point, and basically get to work. So I'm super excited for that, but for now we're still at that 1 month kind of mark away, a little less than that. I'll be posting that once a week on a Wednesday for definitely the next 3 weeks, and then whenever week 1 comes around, Obviously, we're going to want to review it. I might maybe try to do a Monday, Wednesday, just trying to review week 0 and then fully dive into week 1. Might just do one episode on a Wednesday, touch a little bit on weeks here because there's only like 2 or 3 real important games to touch on, in my opinion, to dive in. We'll decide when that gets closer. But overall, I do want to just say, once again, I'm sorry for last year. I'm going to stay more disciplined this year, getting this content out to you. It's a lot easier when you have a place like yourself, too, where you can actually get the time to do what you want to do and review and basically get right in your script so you know what you're talking about this week. Once again, I want to thank you guys so much for tuning in, watching, and coming back to this. I'm super excited for college football this year, and I'm looking forward to whatever happens this year and just getting ahead. Next episode, we will be talking more about the top 25. I'm going to give the security lockdown top 25. I don't know if you remember how I do it, but it's not off of what ifs. It's straight in the moment, what we got, and then I'm going to give a little bit of a college football playoff prediction. But besides that, I'll see you guys next Wednesday. Thank you so much for tuning in, and it's football season, baby. Let's go.